What is going on, Pokemon community? It is Achilles018 here, and today we are continuing my mini-series on my top 7 Pokemon generations. If you're joining me for the first time and you want to get caught up, you can check out the links in the description below to view all the previous episodes. Assuming you're all caught up, we're at the midpoint of the list with my 4th favorite generation, and I'm starting to get really anxious over here, so let's go. Number 4. Generation 1. This kills me. This seriously kills me. Generation 1 was the start of my Pokemon journey. I bought these games the day they came out, and I have fond memories of my first day playing these games. I got Blue version, my younger brother got Red. We chose our starters with him choosing Charmander, and I chose Bulbasaur. We scoured the Viridian Forest together looking for Pokemon, and I even remember the exact area in the Viridian Forest where Pikachu first spawned for me. This was before the days of the internet, and I didn't have a strategy guide, so it caught me completely off guard, and I was ecstatic to catch it. My gosh, do I remember every little detail about these games. So if I'm fanboying about Generation 1 and my nostalgia factor for red, blue, and yellow versions are at such a high level, how can I bring this beloved memory down to the 4th spot? Hopefully that will become more clear as we wipe the dust off these old games and look with more intention and detail. First, let me say thank you to these games. Whether you like Generation 1 or not, Pokemon has mostly stuck to the formula that these games pioneered, so I want to give credit where credit is due. Moving on, these Generation 1 games take place within the Kanto region. Particularly where color depth and graphics are concerned, technological gaps are surely present between these games and the most recent games on the Switch. With that being said, it's a little tough to objectively review regions based on design because the confines of the older Game Boy games were pretty limiting and your imagination did a lot to fill in the gaps. All that aside though, while I have more love in my heart for this region over any other, I have to say the design is pretty bland. The pacing was incredibly slow until you reach Lavender Town, and by this point you've already gone through 2 of the game's 4 major cave segments, which were objectively annoying. The coastal portions of the game were surprisingly small in scope, considering that all of the southern and most of the eastern borders of Kanto meet the ocean. That being said, what I do love about the region is its layout. There are branching paths you could take upon getting to Lavender Town, Celadon City, and beyond, especially where it came to battling gyms and getting badges. In my several playthroughs of this game, I've tried to beat the gyms in different orders just for spice and variety, and it's actually a lot of fun for me. The first 3 badges have to be achieved in sequential order unless you're using glitches, but after that, the next few can be tackled in varying order until you get to the final badge, which is tied to the main story, and I think that's really unique to these games. As far as the Pokemon are concerned, while this was the group that started it all, I am not a typical Gen 1er in that I don't think this is the best regional Pokedex, and nor do I think these Pokemon are the best designed. Apart from the admittedly amazing starters and some really stellar legendaries, this Pokedex is basically filled with ordinary creatures. A caterpillar, albeit a cute one, a sentient fake Pokeball, a basic ghost, a group of seeds that look like a group of eggs, a literal rock with arms. While I adore these Pokemon I just described, and they are very close to my heart, I can take the nostalgia glasses off just long enough to see that the designs on these 151 species were not all top-notch. As for the starters, I've had my phases where I swore each one was better than the other 2, but the truth is, they're all amazing. And while the first generation isn't the best of all time to me, these starters certainly are in my mind. Moving on to the cast, Professor Oak gets a lot of meme-worthy flack, and from a writing standpoint, he kind of deserves it. While his design is iconic, it's really unoriginal, and apart from Professor Rowan, he's the dullest professor aesthetically by far. Your rival Blue, however, is a totally different story. Whoever said the apple doesn't far fall from the tree must not have been looking at this oak tree. Blue is nothing like his grandfather, Professor Oak, and he is better for it. I speak about Blue in more detail in my top 5 rivals video, so I'll put a card in the video if you would like to hear more about my thoughts on Blue. The gym leaders are the best designed of any region, no question. With the exception of Giovanni, who I'm not a huge fan of as a character, each gym leader perfectly captures their team's theme and battling style to such a degree that I don't think any game since has surpassed it. The Elite Four was not quite as good, Lorelei was a decent way to kick things off, I'll always say Bruno as Brock 2.0, and Agatha's team was a joke, but her lore with Oak was interesting enough at least, and Lance's Dragon team wasn't what it was cracked up to be, and the wonky Gen 1 mechanics made this fight easy to cheese if you knew what you were doing, which made the experience fall a bit flat for me. All in all, this generation is fun, nostalgic, and is the basis for the Pokemon series we know and love today, and I enjoy just about everything about this generation. That said, I can't really get past how slow this game is, or how broken the mechanics are. Without getting too into detail, the AI was flat out cheating. It knew the type of Pokemon that you were about to switch into, and it knew what move you were going to use. Have you ever successfully used the move Counter in Gen 1? Nope. Have you ever been hit by a super effective move as soon as you switched in? Yep. There are also several instances, more so in Gen 1 than any other Pokemon game I believe, where you can soft lock yourself, or basically legitimately trap yourself inside the game and be in a position to have to start your game over. Generation 1 was a beautiful mess, and I mean that sincerely. The game was the first of its kind, so we didn't understand at the time, but looking at Pokemon games today, Generation 1 absolutely has the least features, polish, and attention to detail. Bottom line, if this game came out today as is, people would riot. That may sound harsh, but hey, this is my personal list and this is all just my opinion after all. Nostalgia and emotional attachment as well as my personal playstyle do impact this list, but because Gen 1 was my first generation, doesn't mean I think it's the best. And Generation 1 used all the nostalgia factor it could muster, and it came out as my fourth favorite Pokemon generation.